Well, joining me today on the program is a famous person from the UK. Now, we've had lots of clairvoyants and psychics and mediums, but today we're lucky enough to have Mavis Pittilla joining us on the Conversation Arena. How are you, Mavis?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Now, I want to take you back to the heydays of 1966, and that's when pop music was starting on radio. What happened to you in 1966?
Oh, a lot was happening then. I actually was very sick, a very sick person, and I'd been given 3 months to live. And I was very angry with God, as you can imagine. I just remarried because I was divorced, and I remarried. I had a son, just had a mortgage on a house, and suddenly they'd given me 3 months to live.
And what went through your mind, apart from anger? Like, did you suddenly confront this reality of, I won't be around?
Yes, you do. You kind of go through highs and lows. So you're a fighter one day, and then you're a giver up the next. And that's where I was. I was fighting one day, arguing with God, and then the next day I'd think, oh God, what am I going to do without my son? How am I going to live? How is the family going to live after I've gone? So you go through many different stages when you've only got 3 months to live, and then you want to pack everything in it. You know, you want to pack every moment, and every moment's so important. So you can't say you go through one stage of emotion. You go through many. They're very and they're different. And then one day I was sat at home, and Mum was out, and my husband was out, my son was at school. A bright sunny day, just like today, and a man built up in the room.
Like came out of the ground?
No, he just was there.
Wow.
He didn't come out of the ground. There was no smoke, there was no mysticism, there were no angels, there was just a man. And he appeared behind the television, and as he stepped round the television he said to me, go and find a healer or you won't hear the New Year bells.
Wow.
I can describe this man. He was so clear. He didn't have a beard, no moustache. He just had an ordinary working class shirt and trousers on with a big belt, just like my father had when he was on the earth. So it wasn't my father. Don't know who it was.
Could have been the TV repairman.
Well, it could have been if there'd have been anything wrong.
So tell me, what happened when that happened to you? Like, were you sitting there going, I must be going crazy now? Yeah. Because you don't know how to deal with stuff like that.
And because you're on so many drugs at the time, you know, you've got your pain drugs, you've got your antibiotics, you've got all the drugs. You think, oh my God, my mind's gone now. In fact, that's what happened. We thought my mind had gone. And eventually, my husband was at work and he was talking to a friend and he said, well, we think now that it's mentally attacking her because she started to see people that are not there. And this guy that he was working with said, well, what did this man say? And Terry said, well, he said go and find a healer or you won't hear the New Year bells. So Terry said, so you can see our mind's gone? And he said, no, he said, I'm a spiritual healer, bring her to me.
Wow.
So I went for spiritual healing, and that's how it all started. That's how the ability that I've got started. I don't call it a gift, I call it an ability.
An ability. Spiritual healing, what happens there?
He laid on hands, so he goes into a state, an altered state of consciousness, and you feel the presence of the spirit. You just feel the presence of the spirit. And sometimes when he touched me, it was as if his hands just went into where the pain was. And it was as if, I know his hands didn't go in, but it was as if there was another set of hands that would go into my body. And I could feel the power, and it just would move through my physical body. And I went for healing well into the following year, and I'm still here.
And it all cured, and what did they say to you?
Well, actually, the diagnosis was wrong. I got TB in my kidney and my bladder and my bowel.
Yes.
And they thought I'd got cancer. I was going back to 1966.
Yeah, 1966,
so
a different time.
a lot of things.
No.
But for the test. And I'd already had a serious operation for cancer. So they thought it had just gone into another area. So they'd just kind of given up then.
So you went into a different area of spirituality.
Yeah.
So while all this healing's taking place, did you start to develop more of this psychic ability, or you weren't even working on that at the moment?
I wasn't, well, I couldn't then stop them from being there. It was horrendous. It was so funny, really, when I think about it now. But you'd come into my home.
Yeah, and you'd sit down.
And I'd say, oh, you can't sit there, my granddad's there. Oh, no, don't go and sit on the cart. And the cart had been in the spirit world 20 years, but I'd see it. You know, and I just couldn't stop it. There was just no way I could close it down, so to speak.
And is that part of, you know how in jobs there's great parts of your job and then there's worse parts of your job?
Absolutely.
Is that the worst side?
It was a nightmare.
So how do you balance that? How do you...
I actually started to go to a spiritualist church in my town, and I met up with some wonderful people who showed me how to, you know, use it correctly with discipline. Because of course, how can I put this? If they weren't there, there was a part of my mind saying, "Have they gone? Where are they?
Look, yeah.
You know, are they there? Why can't I see them now? Because I could see them before." So there's a kind of your mind that really doesn't want to let go, just in case they go all together.
Yeah, I understand.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went through that stage, and then of course you go through the training and you go through the disciplines. And then I met a most remarkable man called Gordon Higginson. And I went under him then, and he
became your mentor?
Yes, he became my mentor. And he was just such a wonderful physical, mental, psychic medium. He could do it all. He could do it all.
When you talk about the world's psychic medium, what it was years ago and what it is now, there's two juxtapositions here, two stories playing out.
Yeah, there really isn't. The two are one. It's just that we use it in a different way. You can't be a good medium, a quality medium for the spirit world, unless you're a good psychic, because you've got to have the power of the soul. So that's got to be ignited for it to be able to work. So for some people, for instance, if I was wanting to read you, then I would just open the power so that I could psychically read your colour, which would tell me the story of your life. And then the other aspect is opening the power to touch the spirit world. But it comes from the same source, the same power, the same source. And all I had to learn was how to differentiate between the two. For instance, if we went to a nightclub and I was sat with all my friends and I'd be smoking and having my drink, and then suddenly I'd look across and I think, they're having a relationship. Now her husband sat next to me, so why is that going on there? And I used to get into terrible bother. Lost all my friends because they'd know. They used to say, "Maybe you've got that look." And they'd know that I drifted, you know, and I'd have this other look.
Yeah, a little dazed look.
Absolutely.
And what does the spirit world teach you? Like, you know, to make contact with it is one thing, but it's a big responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. And at the beginning, you know, when you get it at the beginning, it's like a kind of, I can't explain it to you really. At the beginning, you don't recognise that there's any responsibility.
No.
You just feel that they're responsible for you and that everything you need, they will provide. And it's only later with the training that you begin to realise that you are the servants. You are here to serve the other world and to serve humanity. And that's the difficult point that we've got now, is that we've got so many people that are feeling that the spirit world should be able to find them a parking space. And the angels should come and do this and find the ring that got lost last week. Instead of them recognising that each medium has a tremendous responsibility to bring healing to two worlds. We heal this world, but we also heal the next world. And it's learning that, and that's a little bit difficult for some to take on board. And of course, we've got to remember that we are going to die. We've got to leave this place.
I know, that's
We're only on loan here. So when we go over there, we're going to have a room full of people saying, "You took my name in vain." Or are they going to say, "Thank you very much for what you did for my family and me"?
Yes.
That's the point.
That's because at some point you're going to have to face it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the thing, we're all getting older and dying every day in a funny way.
Absolutely. I think you can be forgiven at the beginning of the journey because you're not aware of the responsibility that's placed on your shoulders. When you take the mantle of medium, and it is a mantle you take on board, there has to be that dedication and that mantle that says, I serve two worlds. I don't serve just one. I have no master, I have no dogma, I have no creed, but I have the freedom to work between two worlds. And that's what we are.
Do you find in this world people always are searching for answers in terms of, tell me about my future, tell me about my future? We see all these psychics and clairvoyants on television, so mass media has now bought into it and commercialised it. But in the other world, what are they learning from us? Or have they already learnt that lesson, do you think?
No. You've got to remember that the next world is as real as this one.
Okay.
So you still have that personal responsibility over there. And the one thing we learn while we're here is to be personally responsible for our actions, thoughts and deeds. Now that carries on when we go to the next world. We won't lose that.
No.
So we still have things to learn, places to visit, people to get to know, philosophies to understand. I'm taught that there are many worlds in the world of the spirit, and we all learn and progress back to the divine source. I don't think I want to go there. I'm quite happy being here.
So tell me, do you think we ever meet the divine source? Or do you think it's part of the journey of you die, then you go to the next level, and then you go to the next level?
I think so. I think eventually, if you think that you're in this physical body, but working and moving through this life are many other casual bodies that we have, and we'll pass into those casual bodies as we're going on. But I think that if you're talking about going back to the divine source, then you'll lose your sexuality, you'll lose the need to be responsible, you'll just go into the power.
Into the power.
So it's like being consumed.
Yeah. Going to the sun.
Absolutely. That is exactly how I would explain it.
Yeah.
And then you are part of that divine power. We're a spark of it now. The God source is within us. But we have to move in many directions till we get back to it.
So people that inspire the world, we need them, don't we?
Absolutely. We need the people that are financially well off.
Yes.
We need the well-to-do. We need the millionaires because they actually provide work for other people. We need them. And they're equal to us. They're no better than us, but they're no different from us. So we need all kinds of people to move through. And therefore, if we talk about that here and now, then we have it all.
I wanted to ask you a question. I'm doing a documentary at the moment on Marconi. And the interesting thing about Marconi is I never met this man, but from a very young age, I was aware of him when I started in radio. And I got to have a dream fulfilled. Was it a dream? Was it meant to happen? I don't think I ever could have planned the way it all played out. But I finally got to meet and I've become very good friends with his daughter, Princess Electra Marconi. And someone said to me once, well, why you? How did you get to meet her? But I honestly sometimes feel that I can feel this energy of Marconi. Do you think spirits come back to people to teach them something or to help them get to some other level?
Absolutely. I think that the choice that the spirit world has when they reach a certain level is, yes, I will become a guide, a helper, an inspirer. So we would call that man an inspirer that has inspired you to seek the best of you. You see, within your soul, before you came here, the task that was already written and designed within the soul, you are fulfilling with what you're doing.
That's the DNA.
So if you look at you and you look how you began in the media, look what you did at the beginning, but look how you're being, the soul is directing you down a different level now into more, let's see what is after this and see how we should be living now. So spiritually you're fulfilling the destiny of your soul. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I see what you mean,
there? So it was already written there, and this man in the world of the spirit actually would just have enhanced the opportunity for you to recognise that that's the direction you're taking.
So what answer do you give to people that say, I don't know what to do with my life? When kids, when they finish school, I don't know what I want to be. I always knew what I wanted to do, but there's a lot that don't.
I think that a lot of them in today's world, it's a sad world today because we don't teach the children to go into themselves and be responsible for themselves, to go into the silence and listen to the soul. We're making life so easy for them in a way. You know,
we're shielding them.
Yeah, we've just had Christmas, and we've got nephews and nieces, and you want to see the toys they've had this Christmas. They've had everything. The toys have been stacked up. They don't know which toy to go for because
it's too much.
There's been so much. So we're losing the simplicity, aren't we really? And then you look at your computers and your iPads and your television. Easy for a parent to just stick a child in front, press a button.
Yeah.
They're losing that connection.
Yes, yes.
And so they'll lose connection with their soul. So if you're teaching them, I don't mean religion, but teach them about being happy to be silent and listen to the inner voice. You know, that still, small inner voice, because that's what's directed you.
That's right.
It hasn't been an angel.
No.
It has been an essence of a presence that has ignited and fulfilled the soul's potential.
And it brings the right people to you.
Absolutely. So if we could teach the children, my soul and I are happy to go in this direction, I think we would have a happier world.
Speaking of happiness, what makes you happy about the work that you do?
Oh, goodness gracious me. Have you got a year?
We've got 2 years.
I love it when I work with the world of the spirit, and I can feel the spirit world sighing with relief that they've been able to say, I love you. I think that's the greatest joy of all, when somebody comes back and says, I'm very, very sorry, I've treated you so badly. And the response that comes across from the sitter sometimes will be, yes, I accept your apology. And you can feel the essence of the spirit just going, I'm free. And they can move on. And you know, I think that's the greatest joy. The second greatest joy is Disney. I love Disney. And the next one is just being me.
Yeah.
And just not having to be anything but me.
So people that would like to get into this type of field, do you think you're born to do it? Can you learn to do it? Can you go do all these courses and still not get it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's got to be in the gene. It's genetic.
Got to be in the gene, yeah.
You know, there's no doubt about it. When I said that to Gordon many, many years ago, you know, it's in the gene, isn't it? He said, don't be silly. You know, but it is, because you look at anyone and you'll find that they have an intuitive in the family, or they've had someone who could read fires, could read crystal balls, could read ordinary playing cards. There's got to be an innate ability. And what happens then is all we can do is nurture it. We can't teach people to be mediums.
No.
All we do is nurture their ability to understand what the soul has come to do. That's what we do. And for some people, they will be very good sensitives, very good psychics, but they'll never actually attain that, standard's the wrong word, quality perhaps, that will allow the spirit world to use them freely. And then we've got others, of course, that do it for 2 minutes and they think they can teach it.
Yeah.
And we've got that
the fly-by-nighters.
well. Absolutely. And what they don't understand is they're going to go to the spirit world, and they will have harmed people here by
the actions that they've done.
Well, they'll have given them, they'll have told them things that are not going to happen to them, and it'll be the same in the spirit. So, you know, it's a sad time.
Patrick's mum, who works with us here, passed away a couple of years ago, and we were all in the hospital when it happened. Now, I'd never seen anybody die, so this is my first time that I ever saw it. I actually thought, is that all there is at the end of it? Like, it was such an anticlimax, but then I honestly can tell you, I did feel something go past me. Do you think when people die, that if you have faith, and she said to me, well, she said to all of us, you know, when you've got faith, there's nothing to worry about, but when you pass away, is that energy a kinetic energy that just leaves and goes into another world?
Absolutely. You just step into the next body. You see, what you're forgetting is the casual body.
Ah, yeah.
So once you start to loosen from this world, so with this lady, let's say that she was ill for quite a long time, so it was a slow progression. So she would have been living in that body and out of that body for quite a while.
Right.
Particularly if they were putting her on heavy drugs.
Yes.
To still the pain, which
Yes.
what I can gather that's
Yes.
what happened. Okay, so we've got that. So during that period of time, she would have been loosening,
In and
letting
out.
go, and she would have been in the spirit world some of the time, and then back out. And then there would have been that pull
Final.
and thinking, no, I don't need to go back in there now. I can go on. And she probably would have had a reunion weeks before. With the spirit world, so she would have known where she was going. So that would have strengthened her faith as well.
So faith is a big, big draw card, huh?
Absolutely. But when you're talking about faith, you're talking about your own individual faith, not necessarily a dogma or a creed, but your own, your own personal faith.
Now, finally, what advice would you have for people that are watching today that would like to get into this world, and where would they get the best training to develop these skills that you're talking about?
Wow.
They go to your website first.
That would be good, wouldn't it? I never thought of that one. A bit of an advert for me. Well, we've got the Arthur Findlay College, but you've got a lot of good people here in Australia. So if I was talking to people in here, I would say find a good community of spiritual people. You need people to work with. You can't develop or unfold this unless you've got people with you. So you need honest, sensible, logical people. So find the community in your area. I'm not sure about here in Sydney, but of course we're doing this seminar very, very soon. And we've got Marilyn, and we're going to do a week's seminar. Now, these seminars are being set up, I believe, in the Blue Mountain as well.
Okay.
You've got another place. So there are places, but actually go and suss them out for a little while before you actually, what's the saying, dip your toe in first.
Yes.
Because, one teacher isn't for everyone.
No.
We're all unique and individual, and therefore you may have to visit 2 or 3 different schools
To get the right
to get
mix.
the right one for you.
Yes, yes. It's like finding a broom.
Absolutely.
Like Harry Potter when he went in and got a wand.
Oh, now don't get me in with that. Okay.
Now that's something we were talking about before. Why is it that the world thinks that that's what it's like? It's because of the movies.
Well, I don't know. I think it's because of history. And actually it goes back to religion. Because if you look at religion, it's taught us heaven and hell. It's talked about devils and angels. So, with all this mysticism that's come up, that there's always got to be a good and a bad, hasn't there?
There has to be.
So that's where it's come up from. But I mean, the Harry Potter is fabulous, isn't it?
Oh, it's good, a good escape.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a good
I
escape.
love escape. I love escape.
And what's your one piece of advice, finally, that you would like to say to people today that have been watching?
Listen to the voice of your soul. Listen to the conscious mind, but not too much. Listen to the still, small voice within, and follow your soul's pattern.
Fantastic. Well, Mavis Pittilla, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic. We learned a lot there on the Conversation Arena.